والله يدعو إلى دار السلام ويهدي من يشاء إلى صراط مستقيم.
Islam. Islam 101.
Bismillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillahi amma ba'du. Welcome once again to Islam 101, and I'm your host, Abu Usamah Adh Dhahabi. And we have with us here today our panel of respected guests. We're dealing with part of the seerah, the history of some of the personalities that were surrounded the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And we're dealing in particular with the four al-Khulafa al-Rashidin, those four major companions who are the best companions from the Ummah, the community of Muslims. We've already dealt with Abu Bakr and Umar, and they're the two best companions. And now we come to Uthman ibn Affan. Uthman was a tremendous personality in al-Islam. Prior to al-Islam, he was a personality that was well-loved and well-respected, and he carried that over into the religion of al-Islam. And that is in accordance to the hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. خيركم في الجاهلية خيركم في الإسلام إذا فقهوا. The best of you in the times of Jahiliyyah, before you're a Muslim. If you have some good qualities before becoming a Muslim, when you become a Muslim, you're still from the best of the people under the condition you understand the religion. Uthman was one of those people. Uthman was an individual who, prior to Rasulullah coming to Mecca, he didn't believe in the idols of the Kaaba that were around the Kaaba. He never believed in those idols. He used to believe in the oneness of Allah. He never committed zina, nor did he drink any khamr, any intoxicants. And we know this from the story that happened in the latter part of his life, when the people were going against his rule, and they went outside of his rule and his authority, and they caused him to be inside of his home, and they wouldn't allow him outside of his home. And he asked them, why do you people do this to me? Because I heard the Prophet say that the blood of the Muslim cannot be spilled except in three issues: the one who apostates after his religion, the one who kills someone who doesn't deserve to be killed, and the individual who committed zina, fornication, adultery. He said about himself, I never committed adultery in Islam or before Islam. I never killed anyone who didn't deserve to be killed before Islam and in Islam. And I never consumed khamr, and I'm the Amir of the Muslimin. So Uthman, may Allah be pleased with him, was a tremendous personality before al-Islam and in al-Islam. Everyone knows that Uthman was one of the rich Muslims. But I don't think we really consider the amount of money that Uthman had. When we hear that Uthman was rich, we just get that idea and that concept. He was a rich man. No. Abu Bakr, Abdurrahman ibn Auf, Abu Talha, Uthman, may Allah be pleased with all of them, Abu Sufyan. These people had a lot of money. And when I say a lot of money, especially in the case of Abu Bakr and Uthman, they had what I would call Bill Gates money. Bill Gates has a lot of money today. Uthman and Abu Bakr had that kind of money. They just didn't have 100,000 British pounds. They had a lot of money. And they took all of that money and they put it in the cause of this religion. They paid for the freedom of slaves. They paid to have the preparation of any given army. They paid to have certain wells dug and preserved for the Muslims. They paid for so many things that took care of the Islamic State, that took care of the poor Muslims, especially after they first arrived in Al-Medina. From the tremendous nicknames that were given to the companions, many of them have nicknames. Abu Bakr is a Siddiq, as we mentioned, the truthful one. Umar is Al-Faruq, the one who distinguishes between the falsehood and what is truth. Uthman, may Allah be pleased with him, was known by the illustrious laqab or nickname of Dhu Nurayn, the possessor of the two lights. He was called the possessor of the two lights because he was the one and the only human being who was blessed by Allah to have married two of the daughters of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He married Kulthum and he married Ruqayya. He married one of them and then she died, and then Rasulullah married him to the second one. And because of the sickness and the death of his wife, he wasn't able to participate in the battle of Badr. And because of the sickness of the second wife as well, he was prevented from participating in another battle. And in the treaty of Hudaybiyah, the Prophet ﷺ actually gave the bay'ah and the representative. He was the representative of Uthman radiallahu anh. There's a very important point that I want to mention about Uthman being Dhu Nurayn. And I hope that everyone focuses on this point. It's a tremendous point, and that is, Imam al-Bukhari and Imam Muslim have narrated on the authority of Aisha that the Prophet was sitting at a well, and there was a knock at the door, and it turned out to be Abu Bakr. Rasulullah said, give him permission, and he came in. He sat at the well, and he rolled up his clothes, as Rasulullah was sitting at the well, and his thobe, his clothes were all rolled up where his knees were being exposed. His knees, you could see the knees of Rasulullah. And then after Abu Bakr came in, the next person, Umar, came in. Rasulullah said, let him in. Umar came in, he sat there as well. When Uthman came, Rasulullah told the people at the door, hold on, wait a minute, let me get presentable. And then he took his clothes and he concealed his knees. They let Uthman in. After they stayed for a while, everyone left. Aisha, she asked, Ya Rasulullah, when my father Abu Bakr came and Umar came, you remained in your position. And this is how the companions were. If any subtle change or difference took place with Rasulullah, they wanted to know, what is the sunnah? They wanted to know about their religion. If there was a small change to the right or the left, they want to know, what's going on, Rasulullah? They didn't leave themselves ignorant about any aspect of this religion. I'm a Muslim by name, and that's it. I'm happy to be a Muslim, but I don't know anything about my religion. And that's how people generally are. Not just Muslims. Christians are like that as well. They don't know much about the religion. If you were to sit down and ask, what about the Bible this, what about historically that? People just are not committed to learning about their religion academically. And this is not acceptable, because when we die, one of the questions we're going to be asked, and one of the issues we're going to be held accountable for, is the intellect that Allah has given us to ask reasons, to ask the reason why this and why that. Anyway, Aisha, she asked, Ya Rasulullah, why did you change when Uthman came? He said, Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, أَفَلَا أَسْتَحْيِي مِنْ رَجُلٍ تَسْتَحْيِي مِنْهُ الْمَلَائِكَةِ? Should I not be shy of a man who the angels are shy of? So, Uthman is an individual who, from his virtues, the malaika, the angels, they are shy of him. And why are they shy of him? Because he's been described in another hadith. Inna ashadda ummati haya'an. Uthman, the one who has the most hayat, the most shyness and modesty from this ummah, more than Abu Bakr, more than Umar. The one who has the most hayat, the most shyness and modesty is Uthman. So the point that I want to bring to your attention is, if you're a Muslim man or a Muslim woman, a Muslim father, a Muslim mother, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, being responsible for his two daughters, Kulthum and Zainab. Who did he marry his daughters to? He married his daughters to the man who had the most modesty, who had the most shyness. That is some wisdom in that. So if you have someone you want to do business with, if you have someone that you want to marry off, someone you want to marry yourself to, then you have to look for the shyness in an individual. You have to be wary of people who have no shyness. People who say what they want to say, do what they want to say, do what they want to do, appear in public the way they want to appear. In Al-Islam, the religion of Al-Islam, we are taught that everyone has a responsibility, a social responsibility, to appear in front of the people and to act a certain way. And this is the case and was the case with Uthman, radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. May Allah be pleased with Uthman and the rest of the companions of Uthman. From the virtues of Uthman ibn Affaan, obviously, is that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam told him in a number of hadith, that he was going to be in the paradise. in the hadith that is known as the hadith of the 10 people who were promised paradise, and he mentioned all of those companions, it's not because they're the only ones who are going to be in paradise. No. But they are called the Ashar al-Mubashareen, the 10 people promised paradise, only because their names come in that particular hadith. But other people will be in the paradise. So from his virtues is, he was walking on the face of the earth, and he was a person who knew that he was going to be in the paradise. But there is an issue with Uthman, a sad issue, and that is, the Prophet told him, Ya Uthman, إِنَّكَ سَتَدْخُلُ الْجَنَّةِ بَعْدَ بَلْوَى تُصِيبُكَ. You're going to go into the paradise after a trial and tribulation that is going to befall you. I guarantee you, you'll be in paradise. But you have to go through a trial and a tribulation. And that trial and tribulation was what? It was with Uthman ibn Affaan. Pay attention to this. That the door was first opened in al-Islam, where the Muslim subjects, the people who were being ruled, the people who were under the rule of the Muslim leader, it was during the time of Uthman that the door was open where the Muslims started to rebel against the leader. They didn't like something about the leader, so they started to rebel against the leader. During the leadership of Uthman, he had a brother who was his brother from his father, but they had different mothers, by the name of Uqba ibn al-Walid. This man used to do certain things, and he's a companion. But he drank khamr, intoxicants. He would pray the Fajr prayer instead of 2 rak'ahs. He would pray 4 rak'ahs. He would read the Quran the wrong way. And Uthman had him flogged as well. May Allah be pleased with all of the companions. But there were certain people who didn't like the fact that some of Uthman's relatives were living the opulent life. Some of Uthman's relatives were taking some of the money. So what did they do? They decided amongst themselves to open a door that was never open prior to that. This door wasn't open during the time of Rasulullah. It wasn't open during the time of Umar, Abu Bakr, Umar. It was open during the time of Uthman. And I say here today that the door has remained open until this very day. That the Muslims are still suffering from the fact that the people opened that door. We don't always agree with what the Muslim ruler is doing. But because a Muslim ruler is doing a particular thing, it does not give us the green light or the ticket to make what is known as al-khuruj, and to go out against him and to fight against him, because there's going to be a lot of trial and tribulation in the land. But look at Uthman. May Allah be pleased with him. The Prophet told him, Ya Uthman, you're going to go to paradise, but you'll go after a trial that's going to befall you. So when these people opened up the door against Uthman, and they repelled and they went out of his rule and made the khuruj, what did Uthman do? Uthman remained in his home, and he used to read the Quran, and he was fasting. He remained in his home, and he used to read the Quran, and he was fasting. And we're going to come back, inshallah, to the rest of this most important lesson for us Muslims who are living in this day and time right now, as it relates to how Uthman dealt with those people and how those people dealt with Uthman. So we're looking forward to seeing you again, inshallah, in the second part of this episode about the virtues of Uthman ibn Affan.
Islam 101.
Brothers and sisters, to increase your iman.
خيركم من تعلم القرآن وعلمه ورتل القرآن ترتيلا. Learning how to recite the Quran properly, learning the meaning of what we recite, including the ahkam from the verses which we recite, trying to implement what we learn in our daily life. Would listen to the participants and the guests. We'll take your phone calls. We're going to recite live. We'll listen to your recitation, and we'll correct it according to the rules and regulations which we'll state in each episode. Now, your dream will come true.
Islam 101.
Welcome back to our program, in which we're discussing the virtues of Uthman ibn Affan, the one who was known as Dhun Nurayn, the possessor of the 2 lights. due to the fact that he married two of the wives of the Prophet ﷺ, two of the daughters of Rasulullah ﷺ. And as we were mentioning concerning the issue of the door that was opened by the people during that time, the people, we will call them the Khawarij, the beginning of the Khawarij, those people who rebelled against Uthman radiallahu anhu, and they caused a lot of fitna and fawda, confusion and tribulations throughout the Muslim land. Since that door has been opened, we're still struggling to close that door shut. Uthman's position concerning that was, when the companions and the other people who supported him in his leadership, when they came to him and said, Ya Uthman, you are the imam of the people, and the imam of the fitna is leading the people in the salah, because Uthman, he was barricaded in his home. They wouldn't have let him even go to the Prophet's masjid to pray. So the companions came, a man came and said, you are the imam of the community and the imam of fitna. One of these people who has revolted, he's leading the people in the salah, in the masjid. What should we do? We want to fight these people. Uthman, he said, pray behind him, because the salat, inna salat khayru mawdu'. The salat is from the best things that you people do. Pray behind him. And Uthman, he was remaining steadfast and patient, because he didn't want to be the one who was responsible for shedding the blood with, and as a result of, internal strife between the Muslims. So they came in upon him finally while he was reading the Quran and while he was fasting, and they stabbed the Khalifa of the Muslims and they killed him. The first time in the history of Islam that the Muslims themselves were behind going after the Khalifa. Of course, Ali radiallahu anhu was killed, but the munafiqeen, the hypocrites, had something to do with that. In this case, there were a group of Muslims who conspired to do away with the Khalifa. And we ask Allah to help us to close this door. We want to say to the young Muslims especially, we have to be a group of people who know our religion, the companions, what were they upon and what did they do, especially as it relates to this door that has been opened. This is one of the biggest trials and tribulations that has hit the ummah and the nation of Islam. And we cannot support, nor can we be in agreement with people who want to change the condition of the leaders by revolting against the leaders. So the scholars of the past, they used to say, 1,000 years under the rule of an oppressive leader is better than living one night without a leader at all. Because even though we don't want an oppressive ruler, because he's present and he's taking care of keeping the people safe and al-amin, security, you're going to find the criminals are going to know their place because they're going to be afraid. But once there's no rule or leader at all, then every criminal is going to come out and he's going to do what he's wanting to do. And that's what we see right now taking place in Iraq. 1,000 years under an oppressive ruler is better than one night without no ruler at all. Because when there's no ruler, there's no safety and there's no security. That doesn't mean we want an oppressive ruler. We want a good ruler. But the way we are, people who don't pray, people who are lying, people who are cheating, people who are not practicing Islam, do we expect a ruler like Uthman, Abu Bakr? If Umar was our ruler, he would be hitting us over our heads. He would be hitting us over our heads. So we ask Allah to close that door and to protect and save the Muslims, their blood, their monies, and their property. Now, we're going to open up the door for discussion, inshallah, and we'll see what our panel has to offer in terms of input in this particular issue. So we'll start with you, Abdullah.
Okay. Going back to the Caliph Umar, radiallahu anhu, we mentioned that he was very jealous towards his wife.
Jealous?
Jealous, yes, towards his wives. But I have read that Islam teaches us that jealousy is prohibited in Islam.
Concerning Islam's position towards jealousy, we mentioned that Umar was jealous towards his wives. Rasulullah was also jealous, and Allah is jealous. And he said that he heard that jealousy was not permissible, and this is not the truth. There is a jealousy that is permissible, and there's a jealousy that's not permissible. He told us, sallallahu la hasada illa fitnatain. There's no jealousy or envy. You can't be jealous or envy except in two cases. A man who Allah has given him the Quran or knowledge. So you're jealous, meaning you want to be like that. And it's really called ghibta. I wish I can know the Quran like him so that I can read it like him and teach it like him. And the other situation is the man who has a lot of money and he spends fi sabilillah, in the cause of Allah. I wish I had that money so that I can give. But to say, I wish I had that and Allah takes it away from him, I wish I had that and Allah takes, this is the jealousy that's not permissible. And ghira is jealousy loosely translated. And this is from the deen. This is from the religion of Al-Islam. To be jealous about your religion, to be jealous about your women folk, and so forth and so on. And it's similar to al-haya, modesty. Al-haya, Uthman had the most modesty. But what does modesty mean? Does it mean here where he's afraid to say the truth? Where he's afraid to say his haqq? I'm about to travel somewhere and the people, my wife, she wears the face veil, for an example. Her beauty is for me. So we're going to travel from one non-Muslim country to another non-Muslim country. So when we're in the UK, the people at the counter say, we want to see your wife's face. We want to see if her face matches this passport. I'm not going to be quick to say, okay, lift up your face veil. I'm going to say to them, hey, bring another lady out and let us see. So don't be shy and modest to the point where you're so quick to acquiesce and to apologize. That's not the meaning of al-hayat, where you're afraid to learn, where you're afraid to make mistakes. Al-hayat means it is that thing that will prevent you from falling into that which is against the religion. Nick?
As you said, Uthman married 2 sisters. Is it permissible in Islam to marry sisters?
Is it permissible in Islam to marry 2 sisters? It's a good question, Nick. It's not permissible in Islam to marry 2 sisters simultaneously while they're both are living and you're together with 2 sisters. Don't marry 2 sisters at the same time unless it's something that happened before in pre-Islamic times. And now this ayat comes, this verse comes, and if you were one of the people who had 2 sisters, it was okay. But after that, no. A man marries one lady and he can't marry her sister while he's married to her. If he divorces her, he can marry the sister. If she dies, he can marry her sister. And then her sister comes and takes care of the children. The Prophet said in an authentic hadith, Al-khala bimanzilat al-um. A person's maternal aunt is just like his father. If I were to ask the people right here, are you closer to your maternal aunts, your mother's sisters, or are you closer to your paternal aunts, your father's sisters? Which one? You'll find that the majority of the people are going to say, I'm closer to my mother's sisters. That's the majority of the people. So therefore, as a result of that, if that girl, if your wife, something happened to her, and you wanted someone else to raise your children, her sister would be the one who would be next in line. But that's not something that you have to do. Good question, Nick. You have a question, Akhi Nazmi?
If a leader is clearly doing something wrong against the Sunnah, shouldn't we try to stop him?
If the leader is doing something that is clearly opposed to the religion, opposed to the Quran, or opposed to the Sunnah, shouldn't we try to stop him? Yes, it's an obligation and we have a responsibility to stop him. Whoever sees something being done wrong, then let him stop it with his hand. And if he can't do it with his hand, then let him stop it with his tongue by speaking out against it. If he can't do it with his tongue, then let him hate it in his heart, and that's the lowest and the weakest level of faith. So that hadith is applicable in every situation. But in trying to stop the leader, again, we have to look at our ability. Do you have the ability to do so with your hand? And the meaning of stopping him with your hand, it doesn't mean to fight against him. It means you have the ability. You're the father of the leader. You're the mother of the leader. You have a position with the leader. He's your blood brother. And you can go and he respects you and you can stop him. Because there's not going to be more trials and tribulations and problems that are going to come as a result of that. Or you stop it with your tongue. The Prophet said that the best jihad was saying the truth to an oppressive leader. But saying the truth to the oppressive leader is different from revolting against him and bringing out the weapons against him. So he taught us, how do we advise the leader? He said you should grab the leader by the hand, seclude yourself with him, and tell him. If he accepts it, you did your job. If he didn't accept it, then that issue is with Allah. So yes, we have a responsibility to advise the leader. But we have to have some understanding, some fiqh of weighing what is known as the mafasid and the masalih. Those things are going to benefit and those things are going to harm. And they would determine and dictate how we go about dealing with that particular issue. There's a leader who's going to chop your head off. And he's going to take all of the people and oppress them. Then we hate that in our hearts. Because Islam didn't tell you to go out and to get your head chopped off like that. Okay? So we have a responsibility to stop him, but with wisdom, hikmah, putting everything in its proper place, knowing when to talk, how to talk, who to talk to, what methodology to use. That's wisdom, as we've mentioned. Sardar.
So, my question is, if Uthman was promised Jannah, as Prophet said, so why people want to kill him? What's the reason?
If the Prophet promised that Uthman was going to be in paradise, why would there be a group of people who are set on spilling his blood, getting rid of him? One of the reasons is because the people were following their desires. Those people who opened up the door to revolt against Uthman, one of their characteristics is that they follow their desires. There are clear proofs that show we can't spill the blood of Muslims unjustly. You can't fight against the ruler. But they become blind because of the hawa, the desires. The Prophet told us, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, ثلاثة من المهلكات. ثلاثة من المهلكات. هوى متبع وشح مطاع وإعجاب المرء بنفسه. 3 things will destroy you. They will lead to your destruction. One is when you follow your desires. I want to do this thing and I don't care what you say. I'm going to do it. That will destroy you. The other thing is being stingy and always listening to execute what being stingy means. You never want to give any money, so that will destroy you. And the third thing is a person being impressed with his own self. So those people thought that they knew Islam better than Uthman, as they think they know Islam better than everyone right now. They don't have scholars with them. They don't have the majority of the Muslims with them. But they feel, we're the real Muslims. We're the ones who love Islam. We want Islam. So we're not listening to what anyone has to say. So those are some of the reasons why those people fought against Uthman. And after the death of Uthman came Ali ibn Abi Talib, and we're going to deal with Ali as well. These same people gave a lot of problems to Ali as well. These same people gave a lot of problems to Ali. So the Khawarij and the dawah, or the call of the Khawarij, those who revolt against the leaders, it is a terrible fitna, a terrible trial and tribulation. And we advise, stay away from these people in whatever colors you may find them, in whatever masjid, whatever place that you may find them, because they are the ones who have corrupted the land, and they give the non-Muslims the ammunition to use against the Muslims. They make people afraid of our religion because they make people think that we are bloodthirsty animals. So we're going to bring this session to a close, the session of Uthman, Dhun Nurayn, and we ask Allah to make us on the way of all of the companions of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and may Allah protect you, and we hope to see you in the next episode.
Islam. Islam. Islam.